Hello, everyone, and welcome to Melia Hotels International. So, I'd like to start off by saying that none of these photos are my own and they all belong to Melia Hotels. So, let's get right into it. So, who is this Melia Hotels International brand? So, their motto is Everything Impossible, and they were a brand that was started in 1956 under Soy Melia, or Melia, however you'd like to say it. I'm not a true Spaniard, so I'm not really sure. But it was founded by Gabriel Julia, and then the brand acquired a new name in 2011, known now as Melia Hotels International, and they have now become one of the top 20 hotel brands internationally. But that wasn't always the case, and there were certain strategies that underlied this overall strategy to become this top 20 hotel brand, right? And so let's get into how they achieved that. So the issue, there was an increase in leisure travel, and let's make note that this is before the pandemic. This is based in 2018, and so the idea of travel wasn't scarce yet. So already in 2018, there was an increase in leisure travel, and there was heightened European travel. As someone that's been to Europe, I definitely understand that, and so I could definitely understand why this European brand would want to be one of the most 20 recognized brands in the world. Underneath Melia Hotels International, there was a conglomerate of brands which created their overall portfolio. So there were 9 brands in all, but there were 3 main brands that they operated under. And within those 3 brands, there were 400 plus social accounts. And so you can already see how hard it would be to manage these different brands and keep cohesive branding, in line with each other. And so that was probably their biggest issue on how do we, keep this cohesiveness across all of our brands. So they set out with objectives. They said, what do we want to accomplish? And their first was to promote brand loyalty by personalizing that guest experience. And that's to create more respect to the customer or the guest whenever they're on property. But it's also to have an elevated experience while on property, to remember people's names, to offer certain amenities, right? Their second objective was to increase brand awareness on social. So they wanted to be as recognized as a Marriott. And then third, it was to increase quality traffic to the website, not just generalized traffic, but traffic that would result in some sort of transaction, whether that be adding to a marketing list or adding in sales from stays or events. So, how did they achieve these objectives? Number one, they began by monitoring social accounts on one global platform, this platform being Hootsuite. This platform can be accessed from many different levels, from a lower local hotel level all the way up to a corporate office managerial level. And it really allowed them to streamline all 400 accounts for greater supervision and to keep in line with their brand guidelines. So this means that brands' profiles on there, so an individual hotel can be accessed by regional groups and by corporate teams to ensure that goals are being met. Part two, they engaged with their customers using interactive content that was accompanied by UGC. I'm a big proponent for both of these, but specifically here, their interactive content was used to strengthen their audience engagement and increase their brand recognition. This interactive content can be in form of polls, it can be in form of photo submissions, or even a hashtag that is only used by guests. They then launched a series on social where they called it People Behind the Brand, and we'll get into this a little more later, but it highlighted people from the housekeeping department, food and beverage, all the way up until corporate officer roles on why they enjoy working for Melia and why this is what they call their career home. And then third here, they used UGC heavily, not just in their general marketing, but more tailored into their email marketing campaigns, which I really find unique because it gives another touch point for guests to be able to go in and find their photos that maybe they submit using a hashtag, other than just having a generalized email marketing campaign like a lot of hospitality organizations use. Part three of how they did it was they shared the customer experience by leveraging influencer marketing. So again, I'll recall that this is 2018. This is before we were all glued to our phones, but influencers were still a big deal. They focused heavy on influencers to use curated voices to really elevate their brand voice. So what that means is they looked at their target audience and they said, okay, what are their psycho and demographics here, and let's find influencers that speak to those certain demographics and psychographics. And then they brought those influencers in for experiences to where they could then share their experiences with those audiences that would then turn to, transactions of monetary value, people booking stays, people going on vacations to their resorts. And I just think it's really smart for an organization in 2018 to leverage this versus now everyone uses influencer marketing. Part four is they expanded their reach with an employee ambassador program. So this is more tailored into that people behind the brand campaign, where it was executed by the marketing and HR offices to pick those employees with stories of why they're here. They found employees that had been there maybe 6 months, and they also found employees that had been there for 30 years. Why are you here? What makes this place different? This allows people to create a personal connection to where, if you're going to a certain resort and you saw that Susan worked the front desk, you would look out for Susan when you arrive because you know her story, and you would just want to say, hey, I saw you on social media and I really enjoyed your story, and that's part of the reason why I'm here today. So it's just a very smart tactic to take, one that I'm even encouraging my current employer to use. So, what were the results from everything? From influencer marketing specifically, this resulted in 1.7 million interactions. Now in 2022, we're like, okay, 1.7 million, no big deal. But this goal was reached only using 40 influencer activations hosted on their properties. So 40 stays or 40 experiences for 1.7 million interactions with a potential reach of an audience the size of 74.7 million. So 1.7 million actually liked or commented or shared, but 74.7 had the potential to see it, which is super, super just incredible to me to think about, your brand being shown to that many people just from influencer marketing. Their general brand results, they saw a 15% growth in their social following within the first 6 months, which for an organization is incredible. My percentage right now for my role at my property is only a 3% within a year, so 15% within 6 months is incredible. They had a 16% increase in web traffic from their social pushes. Then this was just applicable in Europe. So again, this brand based in Spain, um, to see an overall increase of 16% for their web traffic in just their social pushes is also incredible, because this doesn't account for maybe flyers that are in the hotels or someone asking them to pull up the site. This is strictly from their social pushes. And then they also entered the top 10 most influential IBEX, so European 35 companies on social platforms. So they broke through that ceiling of who can lead social causes. This is what I think of when I see this. When you're looking at climate change and all of our social issues now, your most influential companies are the ones that a lot of people look to. And now Melia Hotels International has that power because they broke through that ceiling of the top 10. So using Hootsuite and streamlining all their processes and really connecting their brand voice to their audience is what allowed them to become this top 20 international and then the top 10 IBEX company. And I think it's very applicable for each of us to take these lessons and apply them in our current fields, regardless of the industry. Because let's be honest, we all don't have a budget for influencer stays, but we all have a budget for targeting our audience correctly. And I believe this is something that we can look at and learn and say, okay, let's just streamline and let's go ahead and create a cohesive brand that people can relate to, and then we might not see a 15% growth in 6 months, but then again, if we see a 3% growth in a year, that's positive growth that we can show leadership of why these efforts are viable and why they should be valued within our industry. So this was Melia. Again, I really thank you for tuning in, for choosing this as your case study of the week, and I really hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them below, and I look forward to answering them all. Thank you.